Hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here, the Ruttenberg Library. Come to you with another bookshelf tour. We're going to be looking at the second bookcase in the upper room, second shelf. We just got done doing that first one. We'll go ahead and do this second shelf. This should be a little bit shorter video. Won't have nearly as many. I won't have as many books to show you. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. So let's get started. And actually, before I get started, if these books right here, I have talked about those in other videos in the last couple months. These are just new ones that I'd picked up that I brought upstairs to the upper room here. So I'm just going to be covering these right here. So, all right, let's get started. So the first book on the shelf here is Michigan Gold, Mining the Upper Peninsula by Daniel Fountain. Now, I've read this one before, probably need to do a reread. I bought this on, I went with, what was it, 13, 14 years ago, went on a mission trip up to the Upper Peninsula with the church. And we had went to a state park, and this was, I went into the gift shop, and this was one of the books that I found at the gift shop. And it just talks about gold mining up in Michigan. This is from the Lake Superior Port Cities publishers, and it's a 1992 book, and it was a pretty simple book, nothing complicated about it. Interesting. I like to try to do that when I travel on a trip, a vacation, mission trip, something like that. I like to try to pick up a book as I'm out and about. That is one of my ways of remembering the trips. So next one on the shelf here is Our Lincoln, New Perspectives on Lincoln and His World. And it's edited by Eric Foner, who is one of my favorite authors. And this is a W.W. Norton and Company out of New York, and it is from 2008. And I've told many of you before, if you're new to the channel, I know I've told many people before on this channel that I'm a huge Lincoln nut. I have a lot of Lincoln books. I have over 80 in my collection, which, for a small-time collector like me, I think that's quite a few books on just one person or topic. Next book on the shelf is Russia in Revolt, 1905, The First Crack in the Tsarist Power, by David Floyd. And, of course, some of this stuff would lead to later on some of the other revolutions that were to come. And this is a American Heritage book from New York, and it is 1969, it looks like, 1969. So not a real big volume, but still got some good stuff in it. Well, here is, and I got this for I think a Father's Day gift, or maybe it might have been Christmas, but Chicken Soup for the Sports Fan's Soul. 101 stories of insight, inspiration, and laughter from the world of sports. And of course, this is a whole series of stories that have been put together. And it's kind of fun. I was a sports fan. Let's see, or I am a sports fan. I got it for this was for my 21st birthday from my in-laws. It is a Health Communications Incorporated out of Deerfield, Florida. And it is the year 2000, looks like. All right, so now the next four books are from James Thomas Flexner's big biography series he did on George Washington. And this is The Forge of Experience, 1732 to 1775. So this book would be the first, I believe, the first volume in the series. Yeah, it's the first volume in the series. And it basically talks about, it spans his whole life. So this is George Washington in the American Revolution, 1775 to 1783. So again, same thing. It's from Flexner's four-book series, or four-volume series, excuse me. This one's George Washington in the New Nation, 1783 to 1793. So that covers through his presidencies. through his first presidency, I guess. And then the next one is George Washington, Anguish and Farewell, 1793 to 1799. And so this one takes him through his death. I guess I didn't look at the publishers and stuff on this, did I? I apologize for that. Little Brown and Company out of Boston. And this is 1972. That last edition. All right, so moving right along. Thomas Fleming. The Intimate Lives of the Founding Fathers by Thomas Fleming. And I've read a couple of his books. I like his writing. Did a book review by him earlier in the year. And this was one of his more recent ones before he passed away. This is from Harper Smithsonian Books out of New York. And it's a 2009 book. So look forward to that one. I like the American Revolution. Several of these are on the American Revolution. Here's another Fleming book, Thomas Fleming's book, Duel. Alexander Hamilton, Aaron Burr, and the Future of America. And so, here's that book. This is a, let's see here, Basic Books from, it's a member of the Perseus Books Group, and it is from the year 1999. So that'll be a good one. And another Thomas Fleming book. Last on this shelf anyway. This is Now We Are Enemies. The Story of Bunker Hill. And no jacket, dust jacket for this one, so you'll have to just bear with the bare cover. This is from St. Martin's Press out of New York. And it is a 1960 book. And of course, Thomas Fleming did, throughout his writing career, did a lot of books on the Revolution. And he covered most, he hit most of the major battles, most of the major events, most of the major people in his works. He would be a really good author for a first-time person, for the first time coming to the Revolution and studying that. I would recommend Thomas Fleming. All right, The Origins and Legacies of World War I by D.F. Fleming. This one's a paperback. And this is a Fawcett Premier book out of Greenwich, Connecticut, and it is a 1968 book. And of course, World War I, as you've heard me say on the channel before, I'm a big fan of learning about World War I, and I think it's pretty fascinating. It's got some pretty complicated beginnings, and it really gives you an appreciation for foreign diplomacy and foreign policy and stuff when you look at all of the intricate details of how all these countries either work together or against each other in that time period. All right, so here's a paperback biography, Gandhi, His Life and Message for the World by Lewis Fisher. And have not read that. I teach a little bit of Gandhi with my 7th grade kids. I like to try to tie that in. I tie that in with Martin Luther King and Gandhi, and then Nelson Mandela from down in South Africa, because they were all three, fighting for those equal rights. And it's kind of interesting to look at how they compare and contrast each other. But anyway, this book is a mentor book from the New American Library out of New York, from 1954. Sorry about that. We got some metal chairs here that we use when we have family over for big dinners, and they decided to slide a little bit. Let's go ahead and do these two on top. This one's called Bury Me Standing, The Gypsies and Their Journey, from Isabel Fonseca. All right, and I got this one from my father-in-law. He had bought that, and I ended up with it. And this is a vintage book out of New York, and it is a 1995 book. That one back up there. Oh, and then, of course, the ever-famous The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, and with an introduction by Eleanor Roosevelt. And so this is a paperback of her diaries. This particular book was, let's see, is a Bantam book out of New York, and it was printed in 1993, looks like. 1993. And many of you are pretty familiar with that one. All right, so last 4 books. Next one on the shelf from David Hackett Fischer. This is Champlain's Dream. And of course, the European founding of North America. And so this is a book looking at the famous explorer. And of course, David Hackett Fischer, if you've never read him, you need to read him. He is a fantastic author. Simon & Schuster paperbacks out of New York, and it is from 2008. I would highly recommend. I haven't read this one yet, but I've read some other books by David Hackett Fischer, and they were just fantastic. Very, very engrossing. All right. The next one on the shelf is Dear Bess, The Letters from Harry to Bess Truman, 1910 to 1959, edited by Robert H. Farrell. And so, pretty famous American couple there. Being from Missouri, Harry Truman was our president. He's our guy that came from around Independence, Missouri. This is a W.W. Norton and Company out of New York, and it was printed in 1983. And so that'll be a good one to read. Next on the shelf is Now It Can Be Told, The Story of the Manhattan Project by General Leslie M. Groves, with a new introduction by Edward Teller. And so, Manhattan Project, that kind of tells you exactly what the book's about. Creating and dropping of the atomic bomb. This is a Da Capo press, and it is from the year 1983. And so I look forward to reading that one. And then the last book on the shelf is JFK, Reckless Youth by Nigel Hamilton. This is a thick book. As you can see, pretty thick. All about the life of the former president. I'm going to take a guess that Steve Donahue's probably read this one. He seems to have read a lot of the JFK stuff. Random House out of New York, and it is a 1992 book, so look forward to reading that as well. So this is the end of this shelf. Again, we're in the upper room, second bookcase, second shelf. Hope you've enjoyed this tour. Feel free to leave any comments down below in the comment section and ask any questions that you'd like to ask. And I hope you enjoyed this. And BookTube, have a great day.